Eastern Cape Judge President Selby Mbenenge will today take the stand and give his version of events in the landmark sexual harassment probe against him. Let's cross now to SABC News reporter Canny Maphanga for details of what's to be expected today. Canny, good morning. So quite, a pivotal time in these proceedings with the Judge President expected to take the stand.
Indeed. Good morning to you, Sakina, and to the viewers. A much anticipated testimony of the Eastern Cape Judge President, that is Judge President Selby Mbenenge, will begin at 9:30 a.m. this morning at the Judicial Conduct Tribunal, which is tasked with probing these very serious allegations of sexual harassment against him made by a junior judge's secretary, that is Andiso Mengo. She alleges that the alleged sexual harassment took place in the form of in-person interactions and electronic communications between June 2021 and November 2022. Now, we already have a sense or an idea of Judge President Mbenenge's defense is that he denies the allegations that have been put forth against him in this tribunal. We know that there are some contents of the evidence that are not in dispute, some of the electronic communications, but there are critical issues that the pair cannot agree on, and we need to hear the Judge President's version of events before the tribunal. That is the November 2022 in-person interactions, alleged in-person interactions, where Andiso Mengo earlier testified that she peeked through the chambers of the Judge President and allegedly saw him hugging the court manager. And we've already heard through the tribunal that there was some sort of friction between the court manager and Andiso Mengo. We also heard that in that same month there was that incident, the alleged chambers incident, where Andiso Mengo alleged that the Judge President requested her to perform an act of a sexual nature. Then there's also the electronic communications that is in dispute. That is the issue of the explicit image of a sexual nature that was sent to Andiso Mengo. She alleges that she received a picture of male private parts from the Judge President. Of course, that's another allegation that he denies. Now, the past week that we've seen that the Judge President has been presenting his side of the story through various witnesses. He called 3 witnesses to support his version of events. I'm not sure that that was the case, as some of those witnesses left more questions than answers regarding his side of the story. He brought the Eastern Cape Judge's Secretary, or former Judge's Secretary, Mbenenge, who obviously gave contrary evidence to what Andiso Mengo has testified. However, the evidence leader was able to put forth the question that there may be a gap that existed between whatever she thought was a full diary of the Judge President, because remember, she testified that on the afternoon in which Andiso Mengo alleges that she saw the chambers incident of the hugging and the alleged incident of being requested to perform an act of a sexual nature, the Judge's Secretary testified that the Judge President was so busy that the afternoon that the incident was probably minimal or could not have taken place. So we expect that the Judge President will elaborate further on that, because they created further questions through the evidence leader. And then, of course, we saw the ICT expert who didn't identify much with regards to the emojis, and it was established that he didn't have the linguistic and social background. And then, of course, the third witness, who was an ex-friend of Andiso Mengo, her evidence was not allowed because it was understood to be prejudicial to Andiso Mengo. So we expect that that will begin at 9:30 a.m. this morning in Sandton. And, of course, SABC News will be giving you those visuals live.